Blog Talk Radio.
Hi, and welcome to Conscious Talk Radio, and I'm your host, Linda Summers, and we've got a great show for you today. Our topic is 4 steps to fast results. Who doesn't want fast results? I do. With Priya Bains. And before we bring her online, I just want to give you a little bit of background information about her. Priya's company is Virtual Freedom Coaching. She is a business coach and strategist specializing in fast results and virtual teams. She helps her clients get fast results within their businesses while simultaneously increasing their earning power and the freedom to live their desired lives. She works with her clients using 4 foundational principles with a PhD in industrial organizational psychology, studying virtual teams, and 10 years of experience working as a consultant and project manager. Priya can also ready your team for mastery and leadership. And with that, I'd like to welcome Priya to the show. Hi.
Hi, thanks for having me. What a nice introduction.
Yes, you're so welcome. Well, it's my pleasure because who doesn't want fast results? Everybody is an instantaneous society where we want it now. It's all about convenience. And so this is such a great subject because I've read a lot of your posts and just a lot of things that you've been doing, and you're up to a lot of stuff. But I do want to let the audience know that we've got 3 points of interest today, but she focuses on 4 things, which is focus, awareness, self-mastery, and time mastery, and we're going to talk about that. And so the points of interest are going to be about fast results through focus, what I just mentioned, awareness, self-mastery, time mastery, manifestation, science, spirituality, a willingness to try things out, in leadership and virtual teams. What are they and why are they different from face-to-face teams? So this is just because I think a lot of people are building business and, we say it takes 3 to 5 years. So this is a great topic to be sharing with people at this time.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a lot of fun, and I'm really excited that you've given me this opportunity and this platform to talk about virtual teams at the very end, because a lot of people think that a team is a team, and when you're not working face-to-face, the dynamics actually change. So I'm really excited to talk about that as we move towards the end of the call, and as well as getting fast results, because that's what we all want, like you're saying. And applying this formula, I've learned that as we do this more and more, our results actually get faster and faster. So it's not sort of the idea that we start off and you do this and immediately we've got fast results. And I'm not into the whole idea of, I'm not going to say I'm not into it, but there's magic. Not magic, but I'm more into manifestation than magic. And so there's a little bit of action and effort once the inspiration comes. And the fast results is a formula to help you get there on a consistent basis.
Was this something that you actually had experienced yourself and thought, wow, people need to know about this because it's worked for me, and you wanted to be able to share that with people?
Yeah, so it is something that I've experienced myself and I'm experiencing every day, and I still, having done this, I tend to trip up myself as well on occasion. So it's a self-awareness piece is really learning more about self on a continuous basis, and then the self-mastery is really overcoming, understanding, practicing, applying. And as I do that in my life, I manifest more and more. So I know I mentioned to you before we got on the call, I've manifested a few different things in my life, from the apartment that I currently live in. It overlooks the water. It's in a really, really beautiful location. I'm in the city, and at the same time I have that feeling of being in a neighborhood, and it's got a family sort of an orientation and energy. And I knew that I would live in that location when it was a pile of dirt next to the water. And we're driving over this bridge. My mom said they're going to develop that area, and every time I drove over that bridge, I was like, oh, I'm going to live there. When I make it in life, I'm going to live there. And so lo and behold, in that exact location I used to stare at every time we drove in the bridge, where there's a big pile of dirt, that's exactly where I live.
Wow. So what you're talking about is the very first thing is about focus.
Focus, that is it, exactly. And obviously I focused on that one for a good 10 to 15 years before it came to fruition. But it was this type of focus that every time I drove over that bridge, I just stared at that spot, and I knew that and there was no building. It wasn't clear. So a lot of times when people are manifesting. It's like, I can't picture the perfect environment. I don't know what, and I stared at a pile of dirt. I just knew that I'd live on that pile of dirt, and then the building appeared.
Wow, that's incredible. I mean, because you don't think, but I really think that it sounds like with just your focus and your intention of so wanting something, and I think that's key as well, as, you know, because you talk about the focus and the awareness, and so in having that and then concentrating on that and just really knowing that that really did feel right to you, it resonated to you. I love that.
Yeah, so that's the very first piece is there's this power in focus, and it's a power in knowing as well. So there was some part of me, even though that building did not exist, I just knew I would live there, and I didn't need the details because I had that naivety of a child. And I carried it on throughout the years. So it's being really naive about it too, and not, you know, thinking about it like an adult and the, you know, can I afford living in that location? Or, you know, well, there's no building, so that's a ridiculous thing to even think about that they put a building there. You know, there's so many reasons why that was a ridiculous thing to believe, but I didn't care.
And I love that what you just said. Didn't care about the details. Because I think we get lost in it, and I think, and I mean, I don't. What's your thought as far as, well, we kind of limit ourselves if we're gonna, you know, we kind of box ourselves in. Where you're saying, as a child, the imagination that can be so much more grander than our minds could even go to. I love that.
And it's we don't think about figuring things out as a child. It's very dreamy and playful and open, and, you know, as a 12-year-old, I'm not going to live in that building, so there wasn't really even a timeline. There was just something like, when it happens, I'm going to live there, and I think I've carried that forward with me throughout my life. Wow, so I can share another bit of a story in terms of the focus, and it's a piece of that focus too is sort of letting go. So I went to graduate school, and I went and looked at the buildings, and I can say they were pretty awful. I remember looking at one place, and like the mattress, like the matting was falling out, and I looked at like I went to open the blinds, and these flies flew at my face, and I was just like, this is disgusting. I don't want to live in this. And I found this place. It was a shared bedroom, and I knew what I wanted. It's like the simplest thing, but I was like, I'm having in-suite laundry. I have that, like, it's going to happen. And so I ended up getting a place where I shared an in-suite laundry, and I had a roommate, and we sort of had our own separate rooms. And then when I moved in, I said, I'm going to live here for 1 year. And next year, they're going to build a brand new apartment building with private suites and in-suite laundry. And there were none in the entire area. And I said it jokingly because I was like, I'm just going to say it. It's going to happen. But I didn't actually believe it. So I didn't have any energy around it having to happen. It was like kind of a big joke. Lo and behold, the next year they built that building across the street from me.
Oh my gosh. That's amazing. Oh, my gosh.
And I knew nothing about it. A friend of mine just said, I know you said that you wanted to live in that place. Well, they're building it across the street. I thought I should tell you.
Oh, I love it. I love it. And that just goes to show you, like, the focus and just the intention, you know, and just the playfulness around it. I think maybe take it too serious sometimes, you know.
Exactly.
Wow.
It's that playfulness and, like, almost not even believing in the ridiculousness of your request and just also knowing at the same time. So it's very, like you're saying, playful.
I love that. Well, then you talk about awareness. So how does you say awareness and knowing yourself? What do you mean by that?
So awareness. So this is a little bit where we get into the business side of things. So there's this high-level manifestation. And then in business, there's also this element of who are we, what are we doing, how are we showing up in the world. And in this very specific context of manifestation, I'm talking about this awareness of being playful, of, you know, letting it go completely and being a little bit goofy about it and unrealistic about it. And being aware of, are we actually doing that? So really looking back at ourselves. So as I'm talking about this right now, I can envision a few people listening to this call being like, yeah, whatever, and rolling their eyes, being aware that thought exists.
Right.
And then also being aware a little bit more scientifically about who we are and how we show up in the world. So I always like to give this example of this one particular client I worked with, and she's a relationship coach. So what do you want a relationship coach to be like? You want them to be warm and fuzzy and relationshipy, and she was going in that sort of direction on a regular basis, and it wasn't working for her. And the thing was, the world didn't see her that way because she's kind of got a technical side to her. She's a little bit scientific, and when she brought out that scientific side and became authentic in who she was, all of a sudden things started to work. Does that make sense?
Yeah, because she started showing up who she really felt. She wasn't like, there wasn't a facade there.
Yeah, and it's sort of, people sense that on the outside, who we are anyways. So when we put on some kind of an air or a weird facade or whatever it is, other people are like, not quite right. I don't know why it's not quite right. So having that self-awareness of really who we are and taking those risks to show up in that way.
I love that. Well, and something I just, I wanted to kind of step back and just kind of go back to focus just for a minute when you talk about manifesting your business. So, because you talked about your home and things like that. So what you're really saying, well, let you say about the focus, because if we're going to focus, and really all of this applies in because we have to have balance through everything, our relationships, our health, our career and things like that, and money. So you mentioned as focus as the first thing. So when somebody wants to really focus on their business or a relationship, whatever that may be, because it sounds like you're helping more people in their business aspect, right? But they can apply in their personal life as well. So what you're saying is to focus really, what does that really mean? Is it focusing on what they truly want out of their business, or focusing on the desire to knowing what their business is like? So I kind of wanted to step back and give the audience, the listeners, a little bit of idea of how they should apply that focus.
So it's always focused on the outcome. And I tend to say focus on the next level desired experience, or if somebody wants to buy something specific, or, I've been really caught up with the sofa thing because I think I secretly want to get a sofa. But not a secret anymore. But, if they want to, pardon me?
I said, right, it's not a secret, no, yeah.
Yes, not anymore. So thinking about that next level piece, so a lot of times when people sort of start with a business and we, do the 10-year, 5-year, 3-year goal, it turns into this thing like, I want to make $10 million, I want to make $1 million or whatever. And it's kind of this number that's really disconnected from anything concrete. So it's sort of like I say start, and this was a huge, I'd say I personally made this mistake when I sort of entered the coaching world and left the consulting world. I started focusing on the money, and I was like, it's not working. It was like a horrible experience. I couldn't even focus on the number, and I'd sit there and I tried, and I couldn't remember. I'd be like, was it 15 or was it 10 or like what the number actually was the problem.
Interesting.
So it's sort of focusing on the next experience. So, I brought up the sofa, or maybe that next experience is you want to go out for a really beautiful family dinner, or even cook something at home, or maybe there's that next vacation, or maybe it's, like going and renting kayaks or a speedboat or something, or whatever the case may be. So really focusing on that next experience, and the numbers tied to that next experience. So, if your vacation is like a $10,000 family vacation, then it's sort of like you focus on the vacation, and then the back end is the $10,000. And then you can make your business decisions focusing on making $10,000. Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely. Yes. And I think for a lot of listeners, they're going to be, so really listen to this show again for any of the listeners out there, because you'll get it once you hear it again. Because it is kind of tricky in a way, right? But it makes total sense. Yeah, because I think a lot of people do focus on the money.
Yeah, so it's sort of focusing on the outcome, going backwards and identifying the money, and then building. So it's sort of the other tendency is to go, I want to buy a house. And it's like, no, back it up to the next step versus like jumping from here to the house level, because We want to make it every step of the way to feel attainable. Like buying a sofa is not that hard. Buying a house, like there's a part of us that inside is like, whoa, that's a lot harder than a sofa.
Right.
But the sofa eventually turns into like a living room, and then like a vacation, and then a new apartment, and it grows into a house versus starting with a house.
Oh, that's amazing. I love that. So focus is first, and then awareness, which you tapped on, of knowing yourself, and then we dive into self-mastery. So how is that a little bit different? Because you're saying master yourself. So you know yourself, and then you master yourself.
So this is the hardest part, which is once we figure out what those thoughts are, those frustrations. So I've told you, focus on the little thing, right? But the tendency is like, but I want the house.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, I don't want to focus on a rug. I want the house. And it's like, trust it. You got to trust that the rug is going to lead to the next, to the next, to the next, and turn into a house. But like mastering those things that were inside of ourselves. So I'm just giving a little example of the rug versus the house. But it could be any number of things. Our mindset, mastering, I say clear your mind, clear your space. So often I will speak to clients who have this sort of cluttered orientation. When they speak, they can't bring their thoughts together, and then I'll do like a Skype video call, and I'll be like, ever get around to cleaning up your apartment? And it's kind of that thing that you see the clutter, and the clutter enters our mind. And because our mind isn't clear, there's a part of it's going like, I got to pick that up. I got to do that. I have this huge to-do list. And if that to-do list and all that clutter in your home is running around, you can't manifest because it's taking up the space.
Huh, interesting. So say that again. So the clutter is taking up the space.
Yeah. So the clear your mind, I say clear your space, clear your mind. And so what we want is that state of zen. So when there's a lot of, I got to do this, I got to do this, I got to do this, and you look in your apartment and things are frustrating to you, some people can kind of live in something a little bit messy and it doesn't really bother them. But for other people, it's going to create a tension and a negative energy. And they've actually, scientifically, they've actually done research, and they found that people with cleaner homes and more organized homes make more money.
Interesting. Wow. That's something to think about. Yeah, interesting. I like that.
So it's sort of trusting these things, and it's like if something itches and irks you, and that's that self-awareness. My apartment's messy. I've got this huge task list running in my head. Oh, my God, if I could only get more support. Nobody supports me. We'll go out and get some support. Either find, people in your environment, whether it's your kids, your husband, your sister, your brother, your parents. Get that support. Go and ask for it. And if you have the income and the ability, go higher. So we say these things to ourselves all the time, which is the self-awareness.
Right.
The self-mastery is actually taking action on them and not continuously being like, I need to do, I should. Well, if you've been saying it to yourself for like the last 3 months, 6 years, or 10 years, do something about it.
Exactly. Yeah. Time to take action. Okay, then how does time mastery come in there? So the way you use your time, which is yes, that's important for sure.
So that's really the very practical element on the end of it, is that how we use our time. So a lot of people will be like, I want time management strategies. And I sort of say, well, okay, you can have 10,000 time management strategies. And I actually recently saw a list of 57 ways to better manage your time, which made me laugh because I was like, if these people don't have the time, they've got the time to read 57 different ways to manage your time. And the way I look at it is it's about keeping it simple and knowing what you're willing to do. And if you're not willing to do it, why is that?
Right.
And it's usually has nothing to do with not having the right time management strategy.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It usually has nothing to do. It's just because you can have 1,000 of them, and if you're not going to implement any, who cares?
Absolutely.
So it's really about, again, it's tied to self-awareness, but what works for you. If you're the type of person who can only focus for 1 hour a day, cool, just focus for 1 hour a day. If you can only do 5 minutes right now, at least do 5 minutes. And I sort of think about it like going to the gym. And you might start with 5 pounds, and then it goes to 10 pounds, and then it goes to 12 and 15, and so on and so forth. So if you can only focus for 5 minutes, do that consistently until it becomes 10 and 15 and 20, and discover the way we work. So some people can do a huge chunk of time and work 8 hours straight, and then they kind of do their little burnout thing, and they need the rest the next day. Some people can do, half-hour blocks. Some people can do 1 hour blocks, but really discovering how do I work and having an awareness of that, or the day goes. The day literally goes away while we're, on a call, on Facebook. Oh, let me go pick up that one thing, or let me go tidy up that pile, and then you kind of half write an email and you kind of half write a blog post, and you're like, wow, my day went by and I accomplished half a blog post.
Yeah, but that's interesting. I like that. Figuring out what time works for you, like what works for you in the sense of time mastery, instead of trying to do it like everybody else or, whatever's out there.
And what works for you in the sense of who you are. So, a person might say, my family is the most important thing to me. And how they live is 90% of their time goes into their work. So make the way you live and use your time aligned with who you are and what you value, because that's when you're a master of your time. Otherwise, time has mastered you.
Right. I love that what you just said, because if you're saying family is important to you, but you're working so much, then you really have to reevaluate. You know what I mean? And make the time for what's really important to you. That's a really good point. I like that. So in all of this, because we talk about manifestation, right? Because people want to manifest. And it seems like this is how you can get the manifestation of what you're looking for, whether it's a home, whether it's your business, whether it's money. By doing all of this?
Yes. So following this sort of having this mindset of fast, I call it more of a mindset, but sort of thinking, okay, what's my focus? What happened when I focused on that thing? What were those thoughts that popped up? Okay, that's awareness. Now, self-mastery. What do I do about those thoughts? How do I flip them? How do I do something about them? I don't have enough time. Go find some time. I don't have enough money. Get creative. Get a loan. Talk to family. Readjust the focus to something where you actually believe you can create the money before shutting yourself down. So know your focus. Be aware of those thoughts that show up. Act on those thoughts with self-mastery. And then structure your time so that you can do it in a way that works for you. So it's, not about meditating 15 hours a day. Unless you're a really spiritual person and that is the most important thing in your life, then definitely meditate 15 hours a day. But if you're not, and you have higher values on other things, then don't spend less time meditating.
Exactly. So it kind of goes back to finding out what's
important to you. So I almost look at it from this sort of perspective of rating. If we could give everything, look at our life as a 100% circle, or some, let's just say on a 100% scale, and say this is going to get 50% of my time. This is going to get 30% of my time. This is going to get 5%. And it's really about ranking things from the most important to the least important. And the most important thing should be getting your most time or your most quality time.
Interesting. Yeah, that makes sense.
So that's why I say mastering time.
Okay, so if it's the least that gets the most time, if it's the least, wouldn't you have to evaluate to see where that is important for you in your life, or no?
If it's the least, it should get the least amount of time or focus.
Okay, got it. Yes.
If it's the least important. Yeah.
Yes.
Did I flip that when I said it?
No. I just misunderstood.
Okay.
I just misunderstood what you were saying. But yeah. So then, let's talk about virtual teams. Now, how does that all come into play with all of them?
This comes into play with support. So often when people say, well, this skill set that I need, it's not in my city, I can't afford it. So virtual teams, first of all, are non-face-to-face teams. So people who work in other environments, other countries, other states, other provinces, depending on where you live. And a lot of the work is just done online. And it's sort of this kind of relationship that we have is we've never met in person. We've never shook hands, but we have a relationship that's strictly based on our online conversations. So that would be considered a virtual team. And there can be virtual teams where people work for you.
Yeah.
There can be virtual project teams, and there can be virtual client relationships. So it comes into play from the perspective of getting support and accelerating the manifestation. So the more support there is, the more opportunity there is. And we're creating opportunity for others around the world through virtual teams as well. We get to accelerate that manifestation, especially if your self-awareness is saying, I need more support.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and it sounds like it alleviates you into really what you want to do is your work, your, creative work, whatever that be. If you are able to get these virtual teams, that would make a lot of sense, because then you're kind of delegating stuff out that you really don't want to do, that's giving you time to really do what you do want to do.
Yes. You're delegating and out. And here's the thing with the virtual team, the way you delegate, the way you communicate, the way you lead, the way you transmit information, it's different from a face-to-face team.
Oh, I can imagine.
And
how's it?
So you can completely structure your teams in different ways if they're virtual. And so actually, if done right, a lot of the work is delegated away from the leader on a relatively permanent basis. So a very high-quality virtual team leader will primarily focus on the direction of the business or the project, innovation, and ensuring productivity. They will not focus on any other element of the business. That should be done by their team. So if you find yourself doing a lot of stuff, coordinating a lot of stuff, doing a lot of coaching of your team members, there's room for a lot of development in that space.
Yes, I love that. So what is one thing that you could share with the listeners that has helped you on your journey?
Ooh, wasn't prepared to answer this right now. Let me think about it.
Whatever comes up for you. I mean, what is something that you've learned that, wow, I've got to share this with people because it's so important that it helped me?
There's so many. I'm just trying to pick the one that's really, really standing out to me right now. Most important thing. I'm going to use a manifestational one, and because it always seems to work for me. And I fall into it repeatedly, and then when I figure it out, it works again. Letting go of control.
Oh, yes. That's good, yeah.
So recognizing that I actually don't have control over a lot of things and putting my energy into the things that I have control over and letting go of those things that I don't have control over and allowing them to manifest. As long as I tried to control it, it does not manifest. And when I finally realized it for like the millionth time, stop trying to control it. It always works.
True, because you get out of your own way. And then you allow the forces to really help to manifest. So that's the only way you can manifest is being in connection with that. I love that.
Yeah. So letting go of control.
Oh, yeah. I love that. I love that. That's a really key thing is letting go. Oh, we just want to thank you so much for being on the show today. It always goes by so fast. It's like, there's so many more things that we could share and talk about. But we'll have all the information on the video as well, your contact information, how people can get a hold of you with the virtual freedom coaching. So thank you again so much for being here today. I know you're away from your your place of business and you're at a different place. So I appreciate this last minute getting to us. So thank you.
I'm in a very small room at the airport.
Yes, and we so appreciate that. So it worked, and it sounds really great. So thank you again, Priya, so much. We really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a lot of fun.
You're welcome. Thank you. And thank you for all the listeners who's joined us today and the ones who will be joining us via YouTube. We thank you so much. Please don't forget to follow, subscribe, comment, and like us. And then you can join me next week, September 10th, for the next show on how to overcome the ego mind, moving from heart to heart manifestations with Angela Maya. So we thank you so much, and we'll see you then. And thank you again, Priya. Wonderful show. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.
All right. Bye.